about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. So Elon Musk has left the building. Maybe not entirely. I was a fan of Elon Musk doing what he did, but from the beginning I told you it was not supposed to last longer than July 4th. The DOGE concept, which was going to be co-chaired by he and Vivek Ramaswamy, was only supposed to last the first 6 months of Trump's term because they expected to find the waste, fraud, and abuse within 6 months, make changes, and then go back to their very busy lives. Elon Musk had established a team, and the team still exists, and had said that he's going to have to probably get back to his businesses by the end of May. And here we are at the end of May. And no shock. I know people are like, oh, they had a falling out. They don't like each other. Elon Musk has SpaceX. They just launched another rocket. He has Tesla. He's got things to do. And his work ethic appeared to show him in D.C. at the White House practically every day. So, you can't be more than two places at once. His work ethic, is very unique. And so you wonder why his shares fell. There were struggles at his companies while he was gone. Is it that when the cat's away, the mouse is out to play? Doesn't he have a team that knows how to run things when he's gone? So that does make us a little nervous that if he now leaves DOGE to go back to his businesses, is DOGE going to be working at full strength? But I think the template has been established where there has been so much waste, fraud, and abuse and things that make you go, that he found that hopefully his team of very, very, competent and bright and promising individuals could hopefully carry that on. People are saying it's Elon Musk's issue with the big, beautiful bill. Actually, Elon Musk was supposed to leave a couple weeks ago. So I thought he was going to be leaving mid-May. So I don't think it was a falling out. And if they did have a falling out, listen, you got two major alphas. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't any arguments. I mean, but I think Musk has to go back and do. I mean, he's got shares falling with Tesla. The BS where people are trying to scare and intimidate Tesla owners. He had to bring NASA astronauts home. There's a lot of work for him to do, and so, with the big beautiful bill, taxes, immigration, defense, energy. It passed the House barely, is going now to the Senate. The Senate doesn't want to increase the national debt by this. Musk thinks that this legislation could undermine some of the work done by DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. He called it a massive spending bill that increased the budget deficit. But supporters of the bill said that these spending cuts cannot be done via the reconciliation process. So, Republicans are going to have to tackle. So DOGE did a lot of work, and Elon Musk wants to see that work being now enacted. Well, that's going to take Congress. I know Trump closed down U.S. aid, things like that, but it is going to take Congress. Now, will all of those be in this big, beautiful bill? No. But reconciliation primarily deals with mandatory government funding that Congress has to change by amending the law. So it's not easy. Now, the White House wants to send a package of proposed spending cuts to Congress, including those outlined by DOGE, that target discretionary government spending. So This refers to the cash flows that Congress controls via their budget appropriations process that's done annually. So I know the media wants to make it look like there's all this drama and it's this big reality TV show or soap opera, but I look at it as Elon Musk did some fantastic work. You have one of the richest men on the globe, who understands business, one of the hardest working men on the globe, helping Trump look at where the government screwed up. I know everybody always campaigns saying, I'm going to balance the budget within the first few months. And maybe they will be able to balance the budget, but it is such a mess right now. When you see all the spending, I mean, like the credit cards, the Social Security docket, the lists of people on it that might have gotten payments, they might not have. But if Social Security does not have accurate records, and there are people 300 years old, right, before Social Security existed, what's going on here? We need competency in the government. And even though I didn't agree with firing people who did not want to work remote, that wanted to work on site and wanted to help make America great again, I did not like the idea of them getting cut just to save money. I think there should have been at least, look, these are the departments we need you in, so we're going to offer you something. So we don't. But so I didn't agree with every single thing they did. But the concepts and the ideology behind it, bipartisanly, people were like, they're not wrong. This is ridiculous. And I used to work for the government. I saw exactly the BS people did. Hurry up and buy stuff because the budget ends, and if we don't spend it, we don't get it next year. I'm like, this money could go feed poor kids. Why are we buying extra furniture? So I hope DOGE will exist. The Department of Government Efficiency will exist way beyond what the Trump administration has been able to do with it. The big, beautiful bill is not supposed to be a budget bill. It's not supposed to fund the departments of government, but it is supposed to, do the tax breaks, things like that Trump wants. So we'll see what happens. But, all I could say is thank you, Elon Musk, for the work you did. And I hope you're still in an advisory role somehow for this administration. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Hi, guys. Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious, such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Now, don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to our producer, Daniel. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So you're going to see this headline where psychopaths have physical characteristics. And scientists have studied a way where you could identify them, look at them, and go, okay, that person is probably a psychopath. And it's an interesting study. And the physical features may hold true for some, but I thought we should probably talk about it. For years, I've been hearing people talk about this show, Killing Eve. And so I started watching it. It's actually really, really good, but it involves what you would call a psychopath. And psychopaths do not like to be called psychopaths. They don't like to be labeled. But there is, if you did want to learn a little bit about what a psychopath is, one of their characters is one. But I think Villanelle or Oksana, the character may also have manic episodes, bipolar, some histrionic personality. I think there's a lot of personality types. And so when somebody is given a psychological diagnosis, it may also blend in with others. It might not just be that exclusive or unique. But, a psychopath, and you'll hear the term dark triad, and you'll hear Okay, so dark triad refers to this cluster of three personality types together. It includes narcissism. It includes psychopathy, or being a psychopath, and also, and forgive my pronunciation, Machiavellianism. So narcissism is where you have this self-importance. You, want people to admire you. You don't really empathize with others because you think you're above them. You're narcissistic. You're kind of in your own world. The Machiavellianism is where you're very manipulative, exploitative. You don't have a lot of morality, and you're very kind of cynical about human nature rather than being empathetic towards it. You're cynical to it. And then psychopathy or psychopathy, or being a psychopath, you have no empathy. You have no remorse for doing something bad. You could be impulsive, and you have tendencies towards antisocial behaviors and bad behaviors. So that's the dark triad. You could be a psychopath without having the dark triad, or you could, have both. But, when you have a psychopath in your life, that's really not easy. And if you don't identify that, you could be going through life going, I'm miserable. I am miserable. There's no pleasing them, or I have to walk on eggshells, or I can't trust them. And some psychopaths, not all, but some of them could be very, very dangerous. In fact, healthcare professionals recommend that you log behaviors and log things that they do in case the authorities ever ask you. I would recommend the logging so that you can identify patterns, because some psychopaths will draw you in and then they'll hurt you. And so you sometimes, if you are living with one, or you're close to one, or you work with one, you want to be able to identify, those peaks and troughs of their personality. But there's a very interesting study about physical characteristics. So they say, these were researchers in Turkey. They conducted 3 studies on people from Turkey and the U.S., and they looked at photos of digitally created faces. And they said those who had very strong brow ridges, unreadable expressions, faces that were symmetrical, eyes that were narrow, the gaze always direct, those were ones that seemed to be more inclined to be a psychopath, right? Because the average psychopath doesn't, wear their heart on their sleeve. They're not like, hi. They're not like, they're like, when you don't have empathy, or you think you're, if you're narcissistic and you're above everybody, you're not going to be trying to connect. You're not, so it makes some sense. And so, like the dark, big brow ridges, like you saw with the the killer of the Idaho college students. The witnesses said they saw the brows, not so much bushy eyebrows, but the prominence of it. Now, I get it. A lot of us have a unibrow and we need to do some waxing, but that's not what we're talking about here. So they say that the faces were carefully crafted based on features associated with high or low levels of dark triad traits, based on photos constructed by averaging the facial features of real individuals who scored either high or low with dark triad trait tests. And the study showed that people could identify all these traits in at least 50 to 75% of the time from headshots alone. Now, I don't like that idea about headshots, okay? Every passport picture I have taken, I'm trying to smile, and they go, don't smile. And so you're expressionless. Well, then, of course, your headshot is expressionless. It looks like mugshots are starting to allow you to smile, but with the mugshot, you couldn't smile. And so, I look different when I smile. I don't like the way I look when I don't smile. I think a lot of us don't. So, if you're doing a headshot where you can't smile, I don't know how scientifically sound that is. But scientists suggest that people can identify these traits as an evolutionary adaptation that our human ancestors developed to avoid bad or harmful people. So this paper was published in Personality and Individual Differences. They say estimating the personality traits of others have adaptive advantages, such as being aware of opportunities and costs that the other party can offer, and they can guide us about behavior and making decisions in our social interactions. So somebody with narcissism, being cold, tactical, manipulative, like Machiavellism, psychopathy, impulsive ruthlessness. These are things that can hurt you, can also hurt themselves. So what do you do if you're around a psychopath? What do you, how do you deal with it? Well, you could watch Killing Eve. I think this person is not the typical psychopath, right? Based on what they do. No spoilers, but obviously there's killing. But seeing lack of remorse in somebody when they hurt you, that's kind of, and you don't want a false apology. Sorry. When there's somebody who just doesn't care, you'll see this with cheaters. They'll cheat and then they'll turn it on you. Gaslight you, or say, well, this was you. You drew me to this. I'm like, really? And they feel like, well, they're good looking. They should be able to cheat and sleep with who they want to. And so you look at them as, they have lack of remorse, lack of empathy. They're hurting you. Now, and I'm not saying all cheaters are psychopaths, but, you might have picked up on milder personality traits, in individuals you've dated or worked with because of their lack of empathy, remorse, impulsiveness, doing things that hurt others, and thinking that they're beyond. They don't have to be faithful. They're above that. So you definitely want to avoid those people if you can. It's interesting. AI, Google has AI. They say, one, maintain emotional control. They thrive on manipulating others' emotions. Now, this is something the show brings up, Killing Eve, but that's so true. It's not that you're worried about triggering them. It's that you don't want to give them fuel. I learned early on with bullies or anything, it just, because many of them were psychopaths. I'm like, don't give them anything. Now, in medical school, that was interesting. In medical school, if you, so let's say you were in rounds and the attending, like Dr. Kelso and Scrubs, was hitting you hard. If you were like, I could take it, they'll keep hitting you. So I learned early on, get hit early, going, oh, I should have known that. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to report on that. I'm going to study that tonight and report on it tomorrow. Okay, well then they're done and they move on. So sometimes I know how to take the hit early on. But when you're dealing with people, who are like that, don't get mad, because they're going to try to egg you on. Don't get mad. Just blank stare. Psychopaths don't know how to deal with those psychopaths. So act like a psychopath. Don't care. Have no empathy. Go. I'm just going through life. Doesn't do me any good. they're not going to get the fuel from you. So just, be bland, be blank, set firm boundaries. A lot of these people are going to manipulate you, or they're going to try to get into your lives, or you got to set firm boundaries. You got to try to get them out of your life and not allow them to have those connections. Limit contact, and don't deal with this yourself. Get some help, because having a psychopath in your life can be really, really damaging and really overwhelming. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Sweet strawberry icing. You were strolling along in goodwill when just past that mid-century side table and denim jacket you spotted them, nestled in their display case. Miniature donut earrings. Oh, yes! Yes! Your favorite half-breakfast pastry, half-all-day dessert food, made into your favorite form of ear candy. Oh my. Those bejeweled sprinkles have satisfied some unknown hunger within you. Shh, do you smell that? That's the sugary scent of shopping success. For this is Goodwill. And with every item you buy, you fund local job training and more. So go forth. Bring home those donut earrings. And bring home so much good to your community. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI. So last year we were talking about long isolators, where there are some people that still have not left the house since COVID. It's 2025. We're almost halfway through 2025. And there are people that just loved isolating. They're very introverted. It doesn't mean they're psychopaths. I know now everybody wants to diagnose their family members. But the idea of isolating becomes easier, and it becomes like a snowball effect, where the more you isolate, the less you want to be around others. And a lot of people are now in this new administration seeing some changes to that. If you are an able-bodied worker that doesn't have kids, you're going to have to work to get Medicaid. The government's not going to be giving you Medicaid or handouts or SNAP if you could work. And if you haven't worked in 5 years, or you haven't gone out there or dealt with people, it's hard. I understand that. It's not easy. And there are some individuals who have never liked being around others, and they have their very small circle. They just don't do well around others. There's too many variables. And so what do you do? If you have to now get back to work, where do you go? What do you do? Well, the remote work opportunities that Biden had encouraged allowed people to work, while working from home and still being away from others, but it didn't please employers. And many weren't doing their jobs, so they were double dipping, holding two jobs up at once. And so employers are now demanding back to work. I'm hearing college campuses are asking it. Obviously, medical offices. This idea of working remote is harder. So if you can't find a remote job, what sort of jobs are out there where you don't necessarily have to be around people? And so, or fewer people. So I worked with an introvert when I worked for the EPA, and they worked in the lab. Now, he was a scientist, but there's other jobs in labs that don't necessarily require you to have a PhD. And you are then around fewer people. You still have to be around people, but it's not like you're in customer service. See, everybody thinks they got to go and work, a retail job. Not always. There's a lot of things you could do behind the scenes. Another job, I like cleaning. I know it doesn't seem like it, especially if you've seen my studio. But when everybody leaves the house, that's when I like to clean. I have the music up. I could sweep. I could mop. I could be in my own world. And so doing a custodial job or a cleaning job can sometimes work great. You know, I have a friend that cleans rooms in hotels. Well, they can only do that when the people aren't there. So she gets to be in the room by herself, away from people, and she gets most of her day is by herself. Yes, there's a supervisor. Yes, there's coworkers. Yes, there's somebody walking down the hall saying, "Can I have more shampoo?" You know, but it's something you could do. There's an article from Kate Knows and MSN talking about 30 professions for people who hate dealing with people. They suggest baking, where if you're baking the breads and the pastries, you don't necessarily have to, deal with the public. All you have to do is, distribute them to other bakers or pastry chefs, but you could be a baker. A lighthouse keeper. I was just in Maine. Lighthouses, just amazing. The lighthouses, so cool. Well, some lighthouses are hiring. You could work in a national park. Certain security jobs. Yeah, I understand you might not want to have to deal with people on the trail but if you're in a very kind of low risk where you just need to, be there and point direction, that's, fewer people. Night auditor. A lot of people do auditing, but their auditing has to happen when the workplace isn't busy. So they work at night. Commercial truck drivers. We need truck drivers. I see myself driving as a profession later. If I ever decide to leave medicine or radio, which I hope I don't. I love driving. I love singing in my car. I love thinking to myself, listening to music. I don't like being alone necessarily, but for those of you who are like, look, I don't want to deal with people. Well, then, being a truck driver. That's, you're pretty isolated. If you do pathology, you could be a pathologist and work from home, looking at slides. Power plant operators, they say most of it is sitting in a room at a control panel that auto fixes itself 99% of the time, just like Homer Simpson. I think if you're a power plant operator, you are going to be dealing with people, but they say less paid person interaction. If you're a self-employed beekeeper, this is not something I would recommend as a doctor for you to do. But beekeepers don't have a lot of conversations. If you pets, these kennels, you might have to work with, other pets. But we were just in Boston and Maine, and we had our dog at Camp Bow Wow. And the dogs get to be in rooms of dogs of their own size and demeanor and personality. And there's one person in the room that walks around with the dogs, sits, watches them. Sometimes the dogs follow them. Sometimes they don't. But you aren't around people. That could be, something you could do. Radiologists don't necessarily have to be. When I did my radiology rotation, everybody was talking to each other. But a lot of radiologists can kind of be on their own. A surgical cleaning tech. You clean instruments and then get them ready for the autoclave. Don't necessarily have to be dealing too much with people. If you work with machines, fix machines, IT, that can maybe, keep you away from people if that's something you want. Night shift security guard, they mentioned. Locomotive engineer, we still have trains. So operating trains. A pressure washer. Pressure washer, people usually don't talk to you because they think you're going to spray them with the pressure washer, so they leave you alone. That's kind of nice. Working in a warehouse. Certain warehouse environments, you don't have to talk to people. Auditors, they bring up again. Horticulturist. If you're working with plants, now that's, then maybe all you have to do is talk to the plants, although plants like to be talked to, A home inspector. You usually do home inspections, right, for permits, and when people aren't there, the homes are not finished being built. So that could be pretty. Appraisers, medical coders don't usually have to be in the medical office. Mechanics. They also bring up trucking again. A dog walker. Again, you're with the pets. They say OR nurses and surgical staff. You do have to deal with the personalities of the surgeons and the anesthesiologists. And I really felt bad for a lot of the surgical staff, seeing the surgeons be rude. But if you have your own little community and you feel comfortable with that, it's not a lot of people. Pet sitting also gets you away from people. Being a water sampler, a technical analyst, an author, write books, a solar panel installer. You're not really going to be dealing with too many people then. If you really want to be away from people talking to you, you could work in a morgue. There's always individuals who need, people to help in the morgue setting. And as I said before, IT. So, for those of you going, look, I haven't worked in 5 years. I got to now get back to work. What do I do? You had options a few years ago with remote. Now those are starting to become less. So, not all jobs require you to be around people. And by the way, it might be healthy to be around some people. I told you, anytime I feel sorry for myself about something that's going on in my life, I hear that somebody else has it worse. And then I'm like, well, then what am I complaining about? It really helps to be around other people. And so you learn. One thing I loved about being around students is what I thought I knew about medicine and teaching and millennials and Gen Zs changes. And they educate me. So hope this helped. 1-877 Dr. Daliah. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Product claims without proof.
every trucker on the road has heard product claims about an additive that simply didn't match their experience. Proof is found from third-party testing by a recognized, credible source. That's proof. Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator will improve your performance and fuel economy. For proof, we engaged The Ohio State University Center of Automotive Research to conduct an EPA-certified fuel economy test with Stiction Eliminator on a FedEx truck, a 2006 P500 Freightliner with 247,000 miles. The test showed a 3.6% increase in highway driving fuel economy from Stiction Eliminator, an oil additive. The complete report from OSU is available for download at hotshotsecret.com. That's proof.
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator, available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So we have a health update on those NASA astronauts who were stranded for 9 months. Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams. They're doing okay. Not still back to full strength. They were 286 days in space. And they returned from the International Space Station in March with the help of Elon Musk and Trump working towards getting them back quicker than Biden did. But they're back home. And they have completed at least 2 months of physical therapy. They've been going through, at least according to Daily Mail, 2 hours of strength and conditioning training daily They're working with NASA's medical team to rebuild their muscle mass, restore their balance in Earth's gravity, and to try to prevent any further bone loss. But it hasn't been smooth. Butch Wilmore, 62 years old, says he still has back pain, even after his rehabilitation came to an end. I would make sure that he doesn't have a compression fracture from thinning bones. But back pain could also happen because your muscles are trying to regrow, put forces on the back. But I would definitely be very wary of osteoporosis and compression fractures. Wilmore also looks visibly thinner, especially in the face. But he did make a first public appearance since he finished rehab May 22nd. He says gravity stinks for a period, and that period varies for different people. Now, his co-pilot, Williams, added that her recovery has also been going slowly. She has had bouts of fatigue. And the fatigue and extreme muscle loss has, that's something we saw when they were coming out of the capsule. Made me cry seeing them. She had issues getting out of bed easily for weeks. Now, the astronauts have been slowly taking on an increasing workload. They're advising Boeing's Starliner program. They're trying to fix this ship that stranded them in the first place. And so Sania Williams told Reuters that they still do have obligations to NASA's Commercial Crew Program, and it's been a little bit of a whirlwind. Remember, they only got, they didn't get hazard pay, I don't think. I think they were paid on the job. They might have gotten a little overtime, but they didn't make a lot of money for being stranded. They were just paid their regular salary. And they're still being paid, so they still have to work. So the program is the NASA's Commercial Crew Program is a partnership with private companies to develop and operate spacecraft which transports astronauts to and from the ISS. They were the first crewed Starliner pod in June 2024 had a lot of malfunctions. NASA and Boeing had to cancel their return trip. So the astronauts were stuck there for 286 days. Finally, we got a new spacecraft through Elon Musk, and a replacement crew rescued them. So they're happy about that, but still not easy. So she feels tired through physical therapy. She still has issues with her muscles after trying to re-engage living so long in zero gravity. And even though she used to be an early bird, she struggles to wake up in the mornings. And so it's going to be some time. I think they are going to recover. I don't know if they're ever going to be 100%. But, this definitely wasn't easy. So they're going to continue physical therapy, mental health support. They have doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, and they are back to work. Also back to work as part of the recovery. I told you when there's a workers' comp injury, we try to get you back to work, even if it's modified duty or sit-down duty, because the longer you're away from work, the longer it takes for you to recover, and the harder it is for you to go back to work, which is why I don't understand why doctors are bucking the idea that people who are healthy on Medicaid, not Medicare disabled individuals, but Medicaid healthy individuals who have no kids at home, don't want to go back to work. We want to get you back to work. And the work requirements for Medicaid is, I think, beneficial for them. But somebody says, yeah, but if they're too sick, then they get Medicare. We're talking about able-bodied, no kids at home, watching Netflix. They need to go back to work. So the focus is now on the next crew heading to the International Space Station. A lot of pressure on Boeing to make good on their multi-billion-dollar contract with NASA to deliver a vehicle that will also bring them back home. So we'll see what happens, but it's good to hear them improving. That's good to hear. So a question I keep getting is, how do you find a doctor? There's this now landscape of the average person does not have a primary care doctor. They've been able to use telemedicine as a bandage for things. And when the telemedicine doctor says you got to see a doctor, you got to get in, people are saying it's taking months to get in. They can't find one. So there's a few options. All right. One thing I tell people to do is look at the university, the medical school clinics. The medical school clinics, operate very frequently if it's a thriving medical school. and they are usually looking for new patients. So, and I know people are like, oh, Daliah, I don't want to be experimented on. You're not experimented on. If you are being seen at a training facility, then you're being seen by multiple individuals, not just a doctor that walks in there for 2 minutes and doesn't touch you. So you're getting a lot more evaluated, plus you're listened to. So I think that's a great place to go. Another thing that some people don't realize they could do is if you're a student or you take classes, you can use the Student Health Center. Now, the Student Health Center isn't necessarily a full-fledged urgent care, but at least you're getting in with the primary care provider, and they could refer you to primary care providers outside that may be taking new patients. So if you're really struggling and you're like, I need a doctor, look at what the university clinic offers. And that might, if you take a class, I don't know how many classes qualifies you, but I think any class does, that might get you at least in to see somebody. Of course, if it's an emergency, you got to go to urgent care, you got to go to ER. Don't wait. But, I'm being told that the average wait time to get in with a doctor from scratch is now 2026. Are you kidding me? I mean, I know we don't have enough doctors, but this is ridiculous. Now, and people ask, where did it go from? How did this happen? Well, one, a lot of doctors left after Obamacare. You couldn't keep your practice open if people had high deductibles. They weren't paying bills. Insurance wasn't paying you. So, yeah, a lot of doctors did leave. But when a doctor got hired, these companies were so desperate that they offered lighter schedules. So I would average 25 to 30 patients a day in my clinic, 60 patients in my urgent care or ER shift. Now, that would be 12 hours, my clinic anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. Well, I'm seeing these job offers where you only see 10 patients a day. So if the hospitals or the medical centers are, and by the way, you could give better care when you don't have to rush and see lots of patients. But if that doctor is capped out after seeing 10 people a day, and, because your previous doctors, we had busy clinics. We got you in, we saw you after hours, I saw you on Saturdays. Well, if you're going to be hired by a company and they're not paying you more to do that kind of work, then you're going to take the 10 patients a day or the 12 patients and cap it. Well, that's nice, but then now if you're seeing half patients you used to see, where are those other people going? So doctors are seeing fewer patients and there's fewer doctors. So when you call up thinking, well, don't they want to make money? You aren't money to them. You have an Obamacare plan that they might be seeing you for free. So I would look at the teaching universities. I would look at some workplaces have clinics as well, schools. Yeah. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.